Hi, and welcome to the No Scrubs Podcast by Medicine Medics. We're your hosts, Ife
and Tenni, and the No Scrubs Podcast is an opportunity where we talk about life as doctors inside the hospital, outside the hospital, and everything in between.
So grab some tea and sit back and listen to us yap about being doctors. Today we have a very special guest. If you're a medic, especially a medical student or a current aspiring medical student, you know this person. Dr. Jess, queen of relocation, queen of funding, in my eyes, you're like the it girl in terms of medical influencer.
Yeah, medical influencer.
I think Jess.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for being on our podcast today. Welcome. How have you been?
I've been good. How are you guys?
We're good.
Okay.
We're good. I'm very hot.
Yeah,
summertime, but it's good. I'm happy about that because I feel like we didn't get a summer. Yeah, well, June was not that good up until last week.
Definitely not allowed to complain about the weather. Just internally and mentally, suffer and then just smile on the face.
Yeah,
because we need it to persist.
100%.
I feel like we deserve it because winter in this country is like Game of Thrones winter.
Yes.
It lasts so long.
It is hard.
It literally lasts from November up until May.
Yeah.
So let's just enjoy this heat.
What's going on and hope for the best.
Exactly. Yeah. But we got some icebreaker questions to ask you, Jess. Actually, for everyone.
We want to find out a bit more about
you. Get to know you a bit more. Okay. Let our listeners know, who is Jess really? Like, how does she think?
Okay.
So the first question I have for everyone is, if you could describe yourself as one medication, what would it be? Any medication. What medication resonates with you? What medication is like, that's me? I haven't actually
That's
thought
actually
about
a really hard question.
Okay.
She knows. The surgeon here knows already.
I didn't want to think about it too hard, and a word popped into my head, and I was like, let's run with it.
What?
Okay.
Rivaroxaban.
Why?
Okay.
I feel like I'd be a new novel type medication. So, you know what I mean? Rivaroxaban's a step up from the warfarins. So I'd be a blood thinner. I'd be really useful for, tackling some tense situations. Don't want anything bad to happen to my clientele out there. But abuse me at the wrong time, or don't stop me when you're meant to, and there might be some trouble. So do you know what I mean? I'm useful at selected times, but it has to be selected times only. Do you know what I mean? I'm not there for every day. I'm there for the good times only.
Do you know what I would be? I'd be tranexamic acid.
Okay.
Someone's bleeding heavily, 1 gram IV.
Same drug group here.
I'm battling you because we're doing opposites right now. Someone's coming bleeding, miscarriage or whatever, 1 gram tranexamic acid. Sorted. Heavy PV bleeding, your periods are heavy. Tranexamic acid.
Okay, lifesaver.
I'm a lifesaver.
Okay.
I'm actually a lifesaver. You are just trouble.
I'm not going to contest that.
Okay, Jess, have you had time to think about yours?
I think I'm going to go with the acetazolamide.
What is that?
So it's a medication you take. It's a medication you take at high altitude. So when you're huffing and puffing, when you're thinking you want to give up, when your body is about to give up on you, just take acetazolamide, take some Jess, and I'll get you through it. I'll help you progress.
I love that.
That's what I'm gonna go with.
I don't believe that you didn't think about this beforehand.
No, do you know what? As you were speaking, I was thinking there were two that came to my mind: amoxicillin and then acetazolamide. I don't know why.
No, I love that for you.
But too frequently used.
Exactly, and that's what I was like. Nah, I need a little bit of exclusivity. The real ones know, and you use me at high altitude. You use me when you're gonna go up a mountain. Use me, yes.
Okay, I
take
like
some
that one.
Jess when you want to progress.
Oh, I love that. You should trademark that.
It was fantastic.
Put it on the t-shirt.
Might change our t-shirts.
We should talk about our t-shirts actually. But in a second, my next one is: would you rather be able to see 10 years into the future or change 10 years of your past?
This one's quite easy for me.
Really?
See into the future.
Really? Why?
I would love to see what my future looks like because I like to plan ahead. And there's nothing I would really change from the past. It's happened.
Yeah.
And I feel like it's made me who I am today. So for me, that's an easy question. That one.
That's true. What are you telling?
I feel like it's really difficult to see 10 years in the future and not be able to change it. That would...
You can.
You can.
I think. I don't know.
I thought it was see 10 years, but no matter what you do, it's going to pan out the same.
You just added that to the question. I mean, if that was the case, would that change your answer?
It just irritate me because I'd be like, I want to change it.
But there's more beyond that 10 years though.
True.
It could make you feel relieved. Something that you're worrying about, is this going to happen now? Then you won't be scared anymore because you know it's coming.
New worries.
It always will.
That's true, but...
would you change anything from your past then?
Well, I'm trying to not be that person. I'm trying to be like, it's happened, let's move on. But I'm definitely I wonder if I said that one more word at the end of that sentence, like we would have had a different dynamic. I would have won the argument. Do you know what I mean? I'm that person. I will replay a conversation. I don't really remember.
I don't think I'd want to change anything from the past because it could really impact the future now. Like, it's not been an easy ride, but I'm relatively content with what's going on right now. It could be worse. I could think if I decided to go to like, I don't know, Leicester Medical School or like another party medical school, not a party, but like, you know what I mean? Like a fun uni. I could be not a doctor right now. My uni was so boring.
We nearly addressed it. We nearly went to the same med school, didn't we? So that could have happened if I made a different decision.
I went to Durham, Newcastle.
Oh, Durham. Okay.
Where'd you go?
Kings. Yeah.
I wanted to go to Kings really badly.
It's good.
Oh my god.
It's all right.
Okay. Do you want to expand?
let me get my diploma.
But no, I wouldn't want to change the past because I just don't know what impact it could have on my present.
That's really true. Butterfly effect and everything.
Exactly.
You might end up starting like a new war or something by like all minor change you make. So let's keep it.
Let's just look into the future and be reassured. Okay, so my last icebreaker question is: would you rather get 30k every month for the rest of your life, or 10 million pounds upfront right now?
10 million.
I knew you were gonna say that. You have that energy about you.
Yeah.
You have 10 million.
I have lots of bad energy.
No, I'm 30k every month.
Really?
I would never work again. 30k. Can you imagine spending £30,000 a month?
But then you know what? I might go with the 10 mil.
Wow.
Because a lot of things in life you need capital upfront for. And that capital, having 10 mil upfront, there is no way I will squander that. Put that in investments, you're never working again also.
You can probably make more than you'd make banking.
Yeah, I don't think so.
If you invested right.
No, even if you made less, even if like 30k a month for the rest of your life was more than 10 mil, you need some things you need capital upfront for. You need to invest early, not.
But what do I need 10 million to invest in?
A life.
I just think 10k is enough, I think.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. 10 mil would absolutely change the course of your life. You definitely don't need to work again. I would not work again.
Really?
I would.
Would you not be a doctor?
No, I would. But I would be part-time.
Yeah.
I'm
like
part-time
at best.
anyway. At best.
Part-time at best.
1 day a week.
Yeah.
I'd LTFT so hard.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
And you just have the 10 minutes. No, me. Imagine I don't have to do. I could squander the 30k in 1 day, and I know I'm getting 30k again.
Maybe you need to think about your life choices.
I'm saying that I could do whatever, and I know, come rain or shine, first day of every month, 30k.
But you know what? You could in this life have a 30k month, but could you have a 10 mil right in front of you right now? That's more harder to achieve. I think a 30k month,
real, guys.
a 30k month is doable. I'm telling you right now. There are people out there making 30k a month.
Who? How?
There are people out there making 30k
Doctors?
a month.
There are actually some
who have startups that are making 30k revenue a month. Yes.
Also some doctors
online
in other
businesses making 30k revenue a month. No joke.
Definitely some consultants in Saudi right now are making 30k.
We'll talk about it. We'll talk.
No, I'm rethinking my whole life.
I think speaking on different countries and earning potential in different countries, like the Saudis, you just come back from abroad, haven't you?
Yeah.
How was it? How was your elective? Did you go on elective? We're
pandemic year.
Pandemic babies.
Oh,
I got
so sorry.
out from
I had my elective.
Partway through my trip. I was meant to go to Malaysia for the second leg, and like 2.5 weeks into Vietnam, they were like, "Get out of the country." And on med school paid for us to like fly back.
No.
Oh, okay.
Way. No, I had my elective.
But then all of my flights to like Malaysia, like I didn't get any money back from that.
Oh my goodness.
But let's live through you.
Yeah. Come on, talk to us.
I'm the best.
I'm Jess now. I'm Jess.
Elective was the best. I went to the States.
Okay.
It was more of a work trip, I'll be honest. I obviously saw my mates and stuff like in Southeast Asia, in countries where it was a bit more of a holiday.
Mm-hmm.
I will say it was work.
Yeah.
But I think as someone who's planning to go there, it was definitely the right move for me personally in my career. Yeah.
Fine. What do you think about your elective experience made it kind of easier for you to maybe drop into that in the future?
So when it comes to relocating to the US as a doctor, one of the key things on the application that you can't kind of get around is US clinical experience.
Mm-hmm.
So like as a medical student, you're covered by MDU and you have like indemnity insurance. Yeah. But when you become a doctor, you either have to pay that out of pocket if you want to go and practice somewhere else. So it's better to get all your US clinical experience within medical school because it's just cheaper for you overall. And obviously one of the ways to do that at length is on your elective. You could actually go to the US in your third, fourth, first year if you have connects like that. But it's ideally better to do it when you're a med student because when you're a doctor, you'll be doing observerships because you've got a license to practice in your own country, but not there. And your indemnity won't cover you there, you know? So it's a lot more expensive to cover a doctor than it is a student. So yeah, that's for me as somebody who wants to go there, who's recently sat step 1. It was a big part of like my future application to going there.
Okay, whereabouts did you go in America? Like what places?
Yeah, so my first clinical elective was at Johns Hopkins in Baltimore.
Wow!
Yeah.
Big boss.
That's why I said she's the it girl. Who else goes to Johns Hopkins?
And then my second one was in New York. It was at the New York Center for Children.
Okay.
And then my third one was in Orlando, Florida at a hospital called Advent Health.
That is so... Which place did you like the most?
It's a really difficult question to ask because I really had high hopes for Florida because it's a state where the weather suits me and it's kind of on the East Coast, so it's easy to get back to the UK. But I wouldn't say I would choose Orlando to live in. So I did Disneyland, I did Universal Studios, but other than that, it's a very family-oriented place. And as a young person, there's not a lot to do. And I also am thinking I want to choose a state where a lot of my friends would at least pass through. So like a lot of people would visit New York in America, or they would go to visit LA or Washington, but they're not really going to go out their way to visit Orlando unless they're coming to Disneyland.
With their children.
So it kind of like, I was there on my own and it kind of, yes, it kind of was like, wow, this is what it would be like to go to work, come home. And I had to get a car because obviously.
Oh, really? You drove in America?
Yeah.
Wow.
Because the public transport ends at a certain time. And yeah, it was more isolating than I thought. Maybe Miami and things are different, but then again, the cost of living is high as well. New York was so much fun. I really didn't think I would live in New York, but now that I'm thinking about it, like I don't know if I would live there, but it's going to be somewhere I apply. And I didn't expect that. Yeah.
What part of New York were you saying?
I was in Upper East Side, like Manhattan.
Wow,
So it was so nice. And then Baltimore, probably not a place I would live, but I would go to Johns Hopkins. Like that institution is amazing. It is amazing. Right? They are really good at teaching. Yeah.
So good. What else did you get up to after New York? Come on.
I actually just met up with a lot of friends. Okay. Like, so there's quite a few people from the UK that I know have moved there, not just in medicine, but in finance. So a lot of people in the corporate space, and people that I used to live with at uni and now are working at Goldman Sachs in New York and things. Yeah. So it's good to like meet up with everyone, see how their lives are different from what they were in London. And yeah, just visiting all the sites that I didn't get to visit before because I have been in New York once before. Okay. So yeah, it was just so much fun.
Oh,
like so much to do.
So good. Yeah. Do you feel like if you're a like for example, like a lot of my friends don't work in medicine, they're not doctors, they're like finance babes, tech bros, whatever. And I just feel like their lifestyle is unattainable for me as a doctor in the UK. Do you feel like being a doctor in the US, you're closer to that kind of, do you know what I mean? Basically earning more money, enjoying your life more.
Yeah, for sure. I think in the US, the culture is you work hard and you get compensated accordingly. And, you know, if you're in a profession, you will be compensated very nicely. So doctors are in the same league as like lawyers, finance bros, tech bros, etc. They just put in a lot more hours though. So when you do average out salary and hours, doctors always come out at the bottom. But that's the career that it is. Yeah, you know, unfortunately. I will say though, and my sister's a lawyer in the UK. They also work extremely long hours. Like all my friends finish at around 10 p.m. if they're lucky. And there is no easy way to get the kind of money that most people want. So you have to be willing to put in the work no matter what career you're in. I don't think that lawyers have it any easier than doctors, if I'm honest. But I think the only difference is lives are not at stake for a lot of other careers. But lives are at stake for ours. And we knew that when we came into this, and there's going to be long hours associated with that. So sometimes it's very easy to complain in the UK, and I get it. It really is. The US, they do double the hours. So I will say at resident level, they're not actually making like way more than us as junior doctors because you have to start from somewhere. Lawyers start at the bottom.
Do you not think that their bottom is our consultant?
Yes, their bottom is higher, but they're in a private system. We are not.
That's true.
And that is the problem. So if you want to, that's why I'm saying, if you don't like the NHS system, it is it's a public system that's not going to change anytime soon. There is no way you can make 200k in a public system. It doesn't exist. It doesn't exist in other countries. It's not going to exist in the UK. So you have to be looking at other ways to make money to supplement that public income.
Yeah.
Hustles.
Yeah. And my sister's spoken to me about at length. Like, she works for a private corporate. She works in a private corporate space. Finance people work in a private corporate space. Like, we don't. And that's just the reality. So I've kind of got to terms with that.
I don't think I've come to terms with that reality.
Yeah, because I understand what we're demanding, and I do think pay restoration should happen. But at the same time, it can only happen to a certain extent. Like, we're not asking for a rise, we're asking for restoration, because we know realistically what government is going to give us. What government's going to double our pay to match our US counterparts?
Well, that's one thing I wanted to actually bring up in terms of like lifestyle and living, because right now I know a lot of doctors in the UK are literally struggling. Like, they're not eating well. Like, they're literally struggling day to day because of how the current pay situation is. And like, I saw something on Instagram the other day, and it was just about struggle life in America as like a resident in training, and like literally like being offered like crackers because that's the only thing you're going to eat that week. Do you know what I mean?
Well, in America?
In America. And I was like, wait, I commented and I was like, wait, doctors in America are broke too? And people were liking it, like, yeah, well, residency years, yeah, it can be. So what were the like people training there like? What was the experience for the people you met there?
And this is the thing. So I went there with a grass is greener mentality that everything on earth was going to be better than the UK. And that's just not reality. I think residents in the US are working double our hours, and they're making a little bit more. But like I said, when you average it out, they're making only a little bit more than what we do. They are sacrificing their lives, because we're doing 8 years, 3, 4, 12-hour shifts a week. They're doing 4 years, 60 to 80 hours a week. So it's, whether you like short and intense or long-winded and balanced, you've got to make that decision for yourself. But the only difference I would say is that in the US, there's light at the end of the tunnel.
Yes.
In the UK, the tunnel is long, twisting, and there might be a light and it might be cracked and it might not be working, or there might be no light at all. Because consultancy is not guaranteed. For them, the country's so big that the opportunities are also in abundance. So most people have an attending position waiting for them back at home in their home state. Most people will go for an attending position in the residency program that they're in. You can be a fellow, you can be double or triple specialized, which is just not a thing we do here.
Yeah, we don't do that.
And I think their training is truly training. They have Friday, like in the specialty that I was in, neurodevelopmental pediatrics, Friday afternoons were for didactics, which is their teaching sessions for residents. They get one-on-one time with attendings. There's an expectation to be excellent, and you're encouraged to go above and beyond because you are praised for that. In the NHS, unfortunately, we've created a culture of what's the point of going above and beyond, because no one's going to thank me for it. I'm not going to get any more of a job than the next person for it, and it's a point system and everything's standardized, and I get that, but unfortunately we're seeing it play out in terms of like patient outcomes and just the way. I mean, how many doctors have you met on placement that are like, I love and breathe what I do? And I met that every day in the US. They were like, I want you to be here. I want you to do this. Take my number, take my business card, stay in touch. I love what you're doing. They praise social media. They praise you being out there. In the UK, I've already been advised to hide my social media and hide what I do from those I'm going to work with in the NHS.
I've spoken about this, the way they treat doctors in the UK, like the public, other people, especially if you're on social media. It's just crazy.
Yeah.
I feel like, I don't know, looking back on how I expected being a doctor to be before I actually went to med school, I thought there'd be a really good opportunity to maybe be engaging social media, have a TV presence. I like the idea of that kind of balance. Do you know what I mean? Like, yes, the day-to-day core bread of the work is good, but there's so much other excitement and opportunities to be had within the job role. And I feel like the UK's kind of sucked any extra joy out of it for some odd reason. Like, why are we doing this?
I don't know.
It's crazy.
I agree with you. I think that in the UK, you rarely find anyone who's like, I love doing this, or like, I love my job. I love, like, it's just people. And I agree with what you're saying. People just they don't care as much these days.
And the people that you do find that live and breathe what they do and love medicine, they're not only working in the NHS, which is a pattern I've noticed. They have a private practice somewhere, or they do a couple of days in the NHS and they mentor students, or they have a course that they're doing, or they are really passionate about social media, or they do TV appearances. And I think if that's not proof that you kind of have to combine this career with something else to bring true joy to your life, then I don't know what is. However, I do think there's nothing wrong with being a doctor. We've put just at the beginning of it, like just being a doctor. Actually, if anyone's listening to this or watching this and thinking, I don't want to have a side hustle, and I'm not interested in business, and I don't want to publish, and I want to be a doctor, and I want to be in the NHS, and maybe one day have a private practice, but I'm actually not that fast. Congrats to you, because having a med degree is not something that should be small. And I think social media is showing you extremes. Like, not everyone is starting a side hustle. Not everyone is launching Melanin Medics charity initiatives. And, you know, you're looking at extremes, extremely good and also extremely bad. People who got moved across the country to a foundation post they didn't want, and they hate their team. That's not the reality for a lot of people. Most people are clustered around the middle, living quite okay. But it's important to obviously highlight the negatives of the career. But I think I've taken a bit of a step back sometimes and been like, I mean, I have a vested interest in making the UK look bad because I have ebooks that tell you to get out of here. But I also have an ebook that tells you to come to the UK. And I think I've definitely become a bit more, I've taken a step back sometimes and actually looked at the kind of career that I'm in and the privilege that it is to actually be a doctor, and that I knew the hard work I was signing up for, and I'm not ready to let that hard work go. And I need to find an environment that's going to nurture me. And if that's not the UK, then make moves to leave. If that's not the US, or you like the NHS, then make moves within the NHS that culture your personality. And I think there's an opportunity for everyone to do that. Just don't get beaten down by the current situation.
Have you looked at any other countries then to move to, or has it just purely been US for you?
So obviously writing books on like the 12 different locations, I had a lot of different ideas in mind. I had a little bit of a look at Australia. And
Australia is like the hot, like, people love Australia.
Love it.
Because they have a similar medical system as us. So you go to medical school for 5 or 6 years, and then they have a similar kind of junior doctor training program. I looked there and I was like, well, if I'm going to go 24 hours, I might as well go 8 hours. Like, the US is a bit closer to me. And I did look at Singapore because they also are very open to UK grads. The degree transfers over there quite well.
They're quite intense in Singapore.
But they're extremely intense. And I think for me, it would be a bit too much of a culture shock.
And
then obviously Dubai is another favourite one that a lot of people like.
My parents, I don't know about you guys, Nigerian parents, go to Dubai. Go and practice in Dubai. I'm like, what is it? Have you been there before? Like, why are they keep asking me to go to Dubai?
That word's like gold to Nigeria.
When you go work in Dubai, I'm just like, please.
And I thought, my understanding, this is word of mouth and like chit chat, but my understanding of Dubai is that training wise, you probably won't get as good as the training opportunities going there. But once you've made it as a consultant, then go straight ahead.
I think with Dubai, it's definitely a little bit of nepotism and networking. So somebody kind of has to recommend you for a job, and then you've got to decide like what kind of area you want to work in. So if you want like central Dubai, you want like the nice packages, then get talking to doctors in Dubai, because it's not just going to land in your lap. And they actually put out ads on LinkedIn and things like that. Like, it's a very different way of applying for a job than we have in the UK. The training's not worldwide recognized, so I wouldn't recommend going there as a junior unless you have a vested interest of just staying in Dubai. You have family there, you want to raise your family there, and you know for certain Dubai's for you. And they love UK qualified consultants, US qualified attendings. So they've got a huge expat community there now. So loads of people are emigrating to Dubai. So it's quite a hot space.
I have loads of friends from like other backgrounds non-medical that have gone to Dubai and are loving it. And like, even if you don't go, because I'm plastic seams training, and even if you don't go into necessarily like aesthetic work, like aesthetic surgery, for example, you can still make pretty big buck doing really good work still. Like working on trauma, for example, you can still like have a bit more of a work-life balance because you're earning a bit better, especially it's tax-free out there too.
Yeah, the tax-free is what is like very, very attractive.
So what do you guys think about the term CCT and flee? One of the F1s taught me that term like a year ago, and I was like, wow, like this is I've never heard
I've been
this.
saying F1, F2, a flea.
She's saying I'm not even
CCT, sure. CCT, sure. I mean, I don't think I can hold out that long, but I mean, it's a term that I've heard loads. Reddit and Twitter, they're not forums that I frequent often anymore, but
it's a bit scary on them. Reddit especially. The medics on Reddit are hardcore. They are they're hardcore in there. But no, I've heard a lot about CCT and Flea.
Yeah, I think it's just people getting to the point where training's a bit too long-winded, and unfortunately our counterparts in other countries are leaving with more autonomy, half the training time, and are able to do operations. I mean, I was so impressed with like what end stage residents could do that it kind of like made me a little bit embarrassed that, you know, by their age I probably am not gonna have half the skills. And then obviously we're having scope creep as well from other professions that can technically, if anyone can do what an F1 and F2 can do, would you not rather pay someone less to do the same job? Because what we need to be realistic about is that being a doctor for a healthcare system is an expensive payoff. People complain that PAs are paid more than us, but over time they're not. They don't have the pay progression that we do. And in a free service, you want to have as much money left over as possible. Like,
it's true.
The government's going to cut. They're cutting corners, and to make yourself stand out in any market, law, corporate, medicine, have a skill that someone else doesn't. Have a repertoire or a reputation that somebody else doesn't. Like, that's how you market yourself. That's how you stand out.
But how do you even begin doing that? Because I feel like you've done that very well. Like, you have your ebooks, you've like gone to different countries, you've practiced there. Like, you're very like, obviously I don't know you that well, but from what I've seen, you're very like, you know what you want.
You've literally created a niche
You're
for
like
yourself.
creating your dream life. Like, you're doing what you want to do. But for someone who's like listening to this and they're just like, I know that I want more for myself. Like, how do I begin? Like, where do I start? What advice would you give?
It's really difficult, honestly. And I went to a brunch yesterday and we were talking about like, you need to think about what you want your life to look like. And I promise you, what you want your life to look like, aside from social media, just take away that noise. What would your ideal life look like? And a lot of us, it is quite a humble life. You don't need Birkins. Like we're happy without it now. We don't need it then.
I think I need one. Sorry.
but if you do, and for me, I said to myself, look, I'm looking at the F1, F2 salary. I'm looking at the things that I like to do. I'm looking at the things I like to buy, the holidays I like to go on, and it's not math ain't mathing. So what do I need to do to plug that gap? Because the career that I like is not going to pay me as such. And then I was like, you know what? I need to start making moves and working backwards to get that life that I want. And I actually started looking at people who have the life that I want. That's pretty much it.
All of my successful friends have done that.
Yeah,
they always look at all the people who are successful and they're like, what are they doing? And they try and emulate them.
Yes, and I try to follow people as close to my reality as possible. So they're a doctor with the life that I want. Because there's no point me looking at a 10-time property investor who's got rich parents, because that's not very relatable to me. I need to look at somebody who's as close to where I've started as possible and look at what they're doing and emulate. And that's why I'm so passionate about sharing what I do online, because there's somebody who probably sees a bit of me in them and is like, right, what has Jess done and what can I emulate? You don't need to copy and paste, but like, what can I kind of get my foot into to get to where I need to be? And for a lot of I kind of surveyed the few people that I really look up to and the lives that I want. And I was like, okay, what's common between them? What's different? What kind of spaces do I kind of need to be in? How do I need to be positioning myself online? What kind of products do I maybe need to come up with or sell? And how do I do that? And a lot of it was around relocating. And that's how I kind of just started with that. And then, well, actually I started with sharing my experience online about just getting into med school, because that tends to be something you're asked a lot as a medical student. And then relocating was like my jam. So I kind of
now you're like the relocation queen. I don't know if I would say queen. I'm sure princess, maybe.
I mean, it's something that I'm very passionate about, that I've done the reading on. I think a lot of people, the good thing about something like an ebook is that not many people want to sit down and write a book. I love writing. So for me, it's something I can do in a couple months now. Back then it took me like 6. But yeah, I think doing that and kind of constantly posting about it and staying consistent with like who I am and the brand around it, and actually now implementing the actions that I'm giving in that, the advice that I'm giving in that book, because I'm a person that likes to practice what they preach as well. I'd like to kind of establish myself as a person, I wouldn't say an expert in the field, but when it becomes my reality, an expert. But I'm sure in a couple of months, a couple of years, somebody will come out with their own relocating stuff, because it's a hot topic now. So everybody's jumping on
But it's good work. You've done so much without even have actually moved. You've done so much groundwork, and you've put in so much backing research into it all, and you've shared literally everything because you've learned it along the way too. So I think that's something that people are really going to appreciate. And have you passed your USMLE? Did I hear that?
Yeah, step one. I've got the second one to do, but like I'm doing that.
So you definitely is US your top relocation place?
I think the thing is, once you've invested your elective and you've invested money into the USMLE process, you kind of have it at the forefront of your mind. And for me, a lot of people are like, it's hard to get into. Do you really want to go to the US? But I think there's a privilege in being able to focus on something. I think there's very few people who know what they want out of life, and I think I just started to be like, right, I've invested this much, this is the path, and whatever comes along the way is a nice extra, and I'll jump on things that I'm interested in, but this is what I'm focusing on for now, and that's going to be my superpower for now, because it's easy to get swayed and be like, right, I'll do one exam and then I'll have a look over here and I'll do a half of exam and I'll do a half of prep for that. No, I might as well just do the full thing and see how it goes, because a part of being on elective is getting letters of recommendation. And when I managed to get those, I was like, right, okay, this is actually becoming a reality for me now. And going there was what I would see my life to be. And then I was like, yeah, this is something I could see myself doing.
It's too good. So you've spoken about the US, you've spoken about some of the other countries that you maybe considered. I know you mentioned there's 12 whole countries within your book that you speak about. Are there any countries that maybe you were less or more like to avoid or suggest, or people have spoken to you and you've been like, maybe don't go there?
Or was harder to transfer your degree to that country?
I definitely thought the European countries were very interesting to research. So I did Germany, Spain, France, and then I also have Ireland in there. Southern Ireland is probably a good place for a lot of UK doctors to go, we'll say. But I think the other three, if you do not speak the language, it's not going to be a realistic move for you, because it's a key part of conversing with patients. And those exams are not the exams we did in GCSE. They are language exams and medical language exams. So for those, they're not the best sellers for that reason. People who buy them tend to speak the language and they have family in those countries. So I would say if you don't speak the language, it's going to knock out a lot of European countries where their language is their first language. It's not English, so you need to be prepared for that. Canada requires you to be a citizen. But the exciting thing about Canada is that a lot of things are changing with the country. They are having a massive recruitment drive for people from a range of professions. So I see the citizen thing perhaps changing.
In Canada, you have to stay in the state that you work in. You can't move state in Canada.
Same with the US. So when you are licensed to a state to practice in the US, it's kind of easy to get your state licensing to apply somewhere else. There's extra applications you have to do for that. And if you're an expert in something, a lot of people would maybe want you to come to a state to do work and vice versa, but you'd need that in contract. In Canada, it's a lot harder. You get a license for that province, kind of like a state in the US, and you don't have a jurisdiction to come out of that province and start practicing.
Oh my gosh.
Whereas in the UK, GMC licenses everywhere.
You
can go to Wales,
Scotland, not.
So that's a good thing to bear in mind. Location. If you are planning to move, you have to be hone in on the prize and where you want to go.
So this is why you're so specific about, is it New York? Is it wow.
Yeah. And I think elective confused me further, because now I'm every state is its own little country. So I've got a lot of thinking to do. And I'm not a type of person who's going to be applying anywhere and everywhere. I want the institutions that I want, and I want the locations that I want. So if I don't get those, I'm not going.
Big boss energy. I love
because I want to position myself in a way that I'm competitive enough to get where I want to get.
And it seems like the specialty that you're interested in seems to be one that will be competitive there.
What specialty are you interested in, actually?
I'm keeping it, I like to confuse people. I'm keeping it kind of
I was going to say, because I'm confused.
I had a bit of nosy on social media. I'm seeing a lot of peds, something.
I see it sometimes. I'm like, I don't know.
I'm keeping it under wraps. I mean, to be fair, what I show online is a representation of what I'm thinking. I am confused. I think I was into surgery at one point, and then obs and gynae, and then I saw the working shifts of obs and gynae and was realistically,
I've been following her Instagram for a long time. I'm I don't know where she's going.
I was realistically not for me. And then I do want to work with women or children in some respect, so it would definitely be one of those, and it's definitely not surgery. So Yeah.
Bye.
Yeah. Bye. Sorry, I did pediatric plastic surgery as one of my rotations.
Okay.
And it was
so
so
cool.
fun. It was so fun, but I just realised the OR's not for me.
Yeah.
It's not. I mean,
Not
as
the OR. This is real American
oh yeah,
lingo.
the theatre. Sorry,
The operating
I
theatre.
love it. I'm watching Grey's Anatomy right now, so you're saying attending. I'm like,
oh yeah,
I'm there like, how does the American system work again? Wasn't attending.
No, I know.
it's a consultant. Yeah,
There we go.
But it's not. It's just not for me. I didn't get as excited about it as surgeons do, and I love that for them. If you like it, I love it. But
It's not
for me, I like more clinical thinking, a little bit of like clinic, and ward care. So
Yeah.
I think surgery may not be for me. Yeah.
Really, I hate wards. Yeah,
I love operating.
Do you know what I mean? I
You
don't
can
know. I
imagine.
do what I like to do. Chill. I like to not be at work and be at home.
Yeah.
That's what I like to do. I'm getting confused now myself. I won't lie.
Anesthetics.
I don't know. The longer I locum, the more confused I'm getting.
Right.
I'm just like, I do like ONG. That's been like my focus since I was 15, and now I'm just like,
baby.
I don't know. Maybe I should just change careers. I don't know.
You could always like mix it, make it what you want. Like,
I'm trying.
Because
I
a
am
big
trying.
draw to ONG for me was fertility, because I'm born from IVF.
Same.
And
Fertility as well.
from literally from what I applied to, when I applied to medicine, a big part was fertility. The fact that doctors can cure, but what I love about IVF and things like that is that research has allowed you to get your way around
Yes,
something, and
it's
doctors
so
also
good.
have a role in that as well. Like
Mhm.
something that previously wasn't possible, a doctor could help around that, and that's not necessarily curative, but it's giving someone an option that they didn't have.
Yeah.
And the fact that I exist because of that, I was like, fertility was like what I wanted to do for the longest.
too,
and
yeah.
then the point is you have to do ONG training. And I was like, no.
Exactly.
Maybe not ONG training in this country. Who knows?
Yeah.
But you're going into, before we wrap up, you're going into foundation training.
I am.
Soon. Oh my gosh, in like a month.
Yes.
Tell us one thing that you're looking forward to and one thing that you're nervous about.
I'm looking forward to where I'm going because it's what I chose. I felt like, so I did the academic track.
Okay.
And I felt like I had a little bit more autonomy in where I wanted to be. And it was based on merit and it was based on an interview. So I felt like I met the people that I was going to work with.
Yeah.
It was a hospital I wanted and I'm going to do research in what I want. So I feel a bit more of a, like, oh, I'm excited to go to a place that I'm actually, I've worked in before. I was a student there. And I'm excited because I'm seeing some of the names and the people that I know.
Yeah.
And it's London. So I get to be around family and friends. Like I wanted my support system there. So I'm looking forward to that.
Congrats.
Yeah.
So and quite nice specialties that I'm doing. And then something that I'm worried about and nervous about is honestly just striking. So managing striking and managing the politics that come with just being a doctor in this climate. And yeah, like knowing how much to share with the people that I work with. Because I'm a very open book. I wear my heart on my sleeve and I'm very open with what I do and I'm very open to helping people. And sometimes that has come to bite me. People are not as open towards you or they will use your resources and definitely won't do the same for you. And I think I'm going to struggle with like kind of sussing out who's
your friend, who's your ally.
how to work with work colleagues and then also taking that to a friendship level, who's actually your friend and who's not. Because when I come to work, I tend to not want to be friends with people I work with.
Me too.
I've come there for a job, you know, I like to be competent and then I go home. So yeah, I'm going to find that very interesting to deal with.
Oh, okay, well, good luck.
Yeah,
I'm sure you'll be
good
fine.
luck.
I think like you'll do an amazing job. But thank you so much for appearing on our
you for having
podcast
me.
today. I've learned so I feel inspired.
I'm
I'm going to go home and write down, what do I want my life to look like?
I want to find people that are like the future of what I want and then do the little investigation to find out how they got there and what like changes they made.
Honestly, it will change your mind. LinkedIn and Instagram, just type in like, I don't know, plastic surgeon, black plastic surgeon, and you'll be surprised at what comes up. And you'll just be like,
You're a cool kid.
she's doing what I want to do.
Yeah.
I like her.
You know what? The next time we have you on this podcast, you might be an attending or a resident in like New York.
Oh my god.
One of my dreams is to get over there and like be able to have students over here come from my elective, no fees, no anything. I would love to have a scholarship one day. So like all these things I'm saying here now,
We're
because in the
speaking
future,
into existence.
I'm speaking it into existence because those are definitely some things I want to have in the works and just to open up that track of opportunities for people who were in the position that I was in.
Yeah.
And face a lot of the barriers that I face as well. Yeah.
It's important to give back to those coming behind you, isn't it?
Yeah.
We really wish you the best.
Yes, good luck. And before we go, we need to plug, firstly, Jess's ebooks.
Thank you.
If you're thinking about relocating, if you want funding for, what is it, funding for like research,
isn't it?
studying,
Yeah, so funding for your
anything.
studies, if you're thinking about intercalating, where to find funding, and then research as well. If you're thinking about publishing, I kind of demystify that process as well. And I do have an upcoming electives book.
Okay, Pearl.
New
You are
IT.
coming out soon.
I'm at the desk. I'm at the desk. but-
Hands on fire.
Yeah.
And then we also want to plug our new merch. Tenni, show the camera. Okay. Class of 2020 Melanin Medics t-shirts available.
So obviously this year will be class of 2024. So it's time for you to get those orders in. We're both class of 2020.
That's why it's
I love
so
class of 2024. Oh my god.
Yeah, so there we go.
That's so cute.
So yeah, that will be coming out, available on our website, and yeah, just
We also have hoodies as well. We have hoodies too.
Obsessed.
Yeah.
Okay.
Make sure you get yours soon, guys. Thank you so much. And we'll
Thank
catch
you.
you on the next one.
so much.
Bye.
Bye.